What's up, America? I'm here at another gas station in Indiana for a gas price update. And yes, indeed, that's right. They're still fucking you financially. Take a look at this. Still $3.19 a gallon, $3.59.9 for diesel still. Across the street over there, even more, $3.21 a gallon, $3.59 for diesel. Fuck me, man. When are we gonna lower these fucking prices? So when it comes to regular, $3.19 plus $3.69, best top of the line shit, $4.19, so $4.20 a gallon for the best shit. But this is pretty much bullshit right here. Prices have not come down a single penny in almost 8 fucking months. One of these days, if gas prices come down, we can start seeing prices come down across the board because transport cost will be less. But it's almost like they want the prices this high to make sure that the price level stays abnormally high like it's been. Almost like they can fluctuate prices higher or lower and nobody will really notice it. They'll just be used to being bent over and fucked financially.
Welcome to shit that just don't make sense spending money on. Walmart edition part 1. First thing up, these little ass cups of hamburger helper. Why would I pay you $2.24 when I can go to the back and get a box for $1.25? Make it make sense. Next up is your favorite Uncrustables. You get a 10-pack for $10.46. Now, why would I pay that when I can buy a loaf of bread, peanut butter, and jelly and get twice as much of a sandwich because you know that shit halfway gone? Nope, not gonna happen. Now, somebody please explain to me when bleach, great value bleach, went up to damn near $6. Like, what the fuck, man? Y'all playing. Now I can get the same thing for the same price with a smaller amount with the label. I cannot hesitate, so I gotta get the bleach, but we ain't gonna get the big one. We gonna get the reasonable one. Oh, now I gotta take a deep breath with this one because this really pisses me off. Since when the orange juice? And look at this little bitty. This ain't even a fucking gallon. $7.64. But if you want a name brand, clearly it's half the size. Bitch, I'm going to produce and get me some oranges. I'll squeeze some shits myself. Okay, so clearly these are the biggest scam ever. Now, if you know me, back in the day, these used to be $1. Now you telling me I get half the price for $1, or half the can for $1.48? Make it make sense. Okay, so clearly somebody must have forgot to sign, because I know you are not telling me that this little bitty bag of chips is on rollback for $2.69. Regular price $4.92. Just because it tastes like some damn ramen noodles? See, Walmart gonna piss me off. And for the life of me, can somebody explain to me why this little bitty ass bottle is almost $8 for some damn fresh breath? I mean, goddamn now. You see, compare ingredient, same as TheraBreath. Appreciate that. Let me get that great value. Let me get the hell out of here before I spend more money than I plan to.
Trump's economic plan is working against us. So in August, inflation hit 2.9% overall, with core inflation, excluding food and energy, still running hot at 3.1%. Translation, everyday costs are going up. That means your groceries, your gas, your morning coffee, which is up more than 20% from last year. Thanks, tariffs. We Americans are staring down higher prices while the felon screams at the Federal Reserve. But Jerome, he's being cautious. The Fed is planning on making a small cut next week, but they know if they go too fast, they risk making inflation spiral. Meanwhile, job growth is cooling, immigration restrictions are shrinking the workforce, and we're stuck paying the felons tariff tax obsession. We got an economy trying to balance on a tightrope while the maggots keep shaking the rope. And we're all down here waiting for the fall.
So some really terrible but expected news today. Healthcare insurance rates under the Affordable Care Act in Connecticut are going up by 16.8%. That's a huge number, 16.8%. It's the highest number in years, and it's going to mean that there are a lot of families in Connecticut who now won't be able to afford health insurance, who are now going to be uninsured. For others, they'll pay that 16.8% increase, but they're going to have to buy less food. They're going to have to skimp on school supplies and Christmas gifts. This is really terrible. And here's the worst part about it. It's a choice. These rates are going up because Donald Trump chose to push your rates up. They wrote a bill, Republicans and Donald Trump, earlier this year that slashed the support that goes to families who buy Affordable Care Act plans. And in Connecticut, that's about 250,000 people. The tariffs are also resulting in healthcare costs going up, and all the other changes that Republicans made in that bill, including throwing 17 million people off of their health care, that impacts rates as well. So you just need to know that these rates didn't need to go up by this much. Donald Trump is choosing for you to pay more on health care. Meanwhile, that same bill is giving a new massive tax cut to his billionaire friends. The richest Americans are going to get a $270,000 tax cut out of this bill. The same bill that is raising your rates for health insurance by 16%. Corporations in this country are going to get a giant new tax break, a big windfall. The same bill that's raising your healthcare rates by 16%. We're going to fight all of this. We're going to try to abate this harm as best we can, but you need to know what's going on. And you need to understand that these massive rate increases in Connecticut are due to Donald Trump's policies.
Trump's economic plan is working against us. So in August, inflation hit 2.9% overall, with core inflation, excluding food and energy, still running hot at 3.1%. Translation, everyday costs are going up. That means your groceries, your gas, your morning coffee, which is up more than 20% from last year. Thanks, tariffs. We Americans are staring down higher prices while the felon screams at the Federal Reserve. But Jerome, he's being cautious. The Fed is planning on making a small cut next week, but they know if they go too fast, they risk making inflation spiral. Meanwhile, job growth is cooling, immigration restrictions are shrinking the workforce, and we're stuck paying the felons tariff tax obsession. We got an economy trying to balance on a tightrope while the maggots keep shaking the rope. And we're all down here waiting for the fall.
If you live in the US, do not buy anything from outside the US, at least for right now. I'm sure a lot of you already know about the tariffs, but it is bad. I ordered an item on eBay for $130 from Canada. 5 days after I placed the order, with absolutely no warning about any sort of extra charge, I was emailed by UPS telling me that I owed $260 to get it delivered. Again, I paid $130 for this item after shipping. I paid for shipping. You get no warning about these tariffs, and you will only be notified of the money that you owe after it enters the United States. So it's already been shipped, you cannot cancel it. And if you make the same mistake I did, you better hope that your seller has a refund policy, because my eBay seller has no return policy. So I have to reject the shipping, and it's going to get sent back to the seller. I don't get my item, I don't get my refund, I'm out $130. And yes, I tried to call UPS customer service. They told me to call a different number, who told me to email the specific email, who told me to email a different email, who told me that it would be 8 weeks or more before I received a resolution. And I don't have 8 weeks because the item has already been attempted delivery 3 times, which means on the 4th time, it's going to get sent back to Canada.
Is the United States headed for a recession, and what do these recent job numbers tell us about the health of the U.S. economy? Well, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, job growth over the last few months has been extremely limited. We saw negative job growth in June and only really saw growth in part-time work last month in August. In July, we saw the highest number of layoffs since the pandemic. And despite the U.S. unemployment rate remaining relatively low, it has hit a 4-year high. But beyond that, the unemployment rate for Black Americans has reached 7.5%. Now, this is important because it is usually vulnerable groups like Black Americans to experience economic hardship before a nationwide trend begins to emerge. But economists would consider a canary in the coal mine foretelling a slowdown of a broader job market. But not only has the growth of the U.S. economy slowed down over the last few months, it was much worse over the past year than we previously realized. Now, it's impossible to say for sure whether or not this trend is going to continue into crisis or whether or not things are going to get better. One thing is for certain, Donald Trump's tariffs are not helping, and U.S. manufacturing is experiencing layoffs and negative job growth just as much as other sectors. This is not the sign of just temporary pain for long-term gain.
I am at the point where I am firmly convinced, folks, that there is not going to come a day during this administration where I'm going to have to sit here and tell you about, hey, Donald Trump actually accomplished something. Because based on all of the available data, including new data from the Labor Department this week, Trump has failed at quite literally every single thing he has done since becoming president. And one of the biggest failures, of course, is with the economy. Donald Trump, when he came into office on January 20th, 2025, inherited an economy where inflation was shrinking. Prices were coming down. Things were getting better. And in 8 short months, he not only stopped the growth in its tracks, but put us back on the path to where prices are going up, wages are going down, jobs are being lost left and right, unemployment is rising. Everything is now back to getting worse month over month because of what Donald Trump has done. There's no bones about it. There's no questions. There's no speculation that, well, maybe it's no. It's because of the decisions of Donald Trump that American consumers, regardless of your political affiliation, are getting screwed. Maybe you voted for him. You're getting screwed. Maybe you didn't vote for him. You're getting screwed. We're all equally getting screwed here. So it doesn't matter if you voted for him or not. This is an issue that affects all of us. It doesn't matter if you still support him. You're still getting screwed. But here is what this new report showed us. For the month of August, inflation continued to rise 2.9% compared to a year ago. And of course, that's because companies are pushing the cost of the tariffs that they are paying onto us. So it's the Trump tax. And in a double whammy for the economy, new data also shows the number of Americans filing for unemployment benefits last week rose 263,000. It rose to 263,000. Tens of thousands more people last week lost their jobs and filed for unemployment benefits. Now, inflation year over year at this point, 2.9%. Core inflation, which takes out food and energy, is viewed as a steadier gauge of the underlying pressures. And that actually rose 3.1%. So if you take out food and energy, right, the number 1 and 2 expenses for people outside of housing, inflation's actually higher because food prices have not yet caught up with the rest of inflation, but they will. And it gets worse. Grocery prices rose by 2.7% in August from a year earlier, up from 2.2% in July. So month over month, half a point higher. That is big. Coffee surged by more than 21%. Eggs rose by 10%, and energy is up 13.8%. Eggs are going up again, folks. Weren't y'all the ones who a year ago were whining and crying about how expensive eggs were? You made it an issue. Fox News was talking every day about the cost of eggs. Newsmax was talking about it. Every conservative candidate talking about eggs. You'd think these people were friggin' Gaston out there with how many eggs they were eating. Where are you now? Where are you? You can't care about something one year and then the next year think that, no, it's okay that this thing I said was horrible last year is now great today. That doesn't work. The public has noticed, right? That's why Donald Trump is underwater on every single issue, especially on his handling of the economy. If eggs and their prices, of course, were a big issue last year, and that's the thing, it was just eggs. That was the main thing. Eggs. Well, how about today when you've got eggs, coffee, bacon? I mean, shit, any breakfast item, breakfast is about to become a luxury that most people won't be able to afford. Beef prices are up to the highest point in American history. We are getting screwed, right? This isn't funny. This isn't humorous in any way. Everybody, regardless of your political affiliation, gets screwed on this because we're all paying the Trump tax. Some can weather it a little better than others. Some can't. But it doesn't matter your situation. We are all paying more for everything, according to Trump's own administration, right? Because this is coming from them. They're the ones telling us we're screwing you over. And Donald Trump doesn't care. He's going to continue doing this because to him, according to the administration, it's all just one very fun